What's up, guys? It's Luke Middlebrook here to talk to you about body language once again. So this week on the research, what I found is a lot more interesting, and it's a lot more the science on kind of how it works. So I've been watching a professional called Mark Bowden, and he is one of the leading experts in body language. So I've been watching a lot of videos by him on TED Talks and YouTube and other articles that I found by him, and it's really cool stuff. So the first thing that he talks about is, like I said, palms open, eyebrows up, and you kind of keep smiling, and you really look excited as you do it. What Mark talked about was the reptilian part of your brain. So I mentioned this last week. It's the old part of your brain. You turn around so you can actually see what I'm talking about. It's the part of your brain back here. So it's the part that connects the last part of your brain to your spinal cord. And that part is one of the most old parts of our brain, one of the oldest of our brain. It's about 400,000 years old. And how it's that old is because we evolved. So his theory evolves from evolution. And it's the fact that we evolved from creatures of the sea to creatures on land, from reptiles to mammals, and from mammals to Homo sapiens and up the chain. But his theory was all about the fact that the reptilian brain is one of the oldest parts, which is why it takes dominance when things happen. So what he talks about is approaching people, and the way you approach people is a very certain way. The first thing you want to do is whenever you want to greet someone, make sure that they can see your full body. They can see your head all the way to your feet. When that happens, whether it's in the periphery, so if you were to take your eyes and just looking straight, how far down you can look and how far to the left and right you can look, that's called your periphery. You can do this by sticking your thumbs out in front of you like this, taking as far left and right as you can go until you can no longer see them. That is your periphery, or your left and right, and then you can do the same thing vertically, take your thumbs like this, go up and down until you can no longer see them. That would be your periphery. How that looks, you always want to approach someone where they can see your whole body. This way they know that you're not carrying a weapon. And lastly, when you approach them, the way you shake their hand. You want to connect palm to palm. So they want to feel the palm of your hand. The reason why is because when that happens, then they know that you're not carrying a weapon. So they can really connect with you and it feels safe. So it's all about feeling safe. So the reptilian part of your brain is all about safety. And once we have safety established, then we can start going to the body language of friendship. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that they can see your whole body. Then after that, you want to shake hands with them as upright as possible and connect those palms. After those palms are connected, you want to squeeze as tightly as they squeeze. And the next thing, when it comes to talking, whether you're talking with an audience or you want to be a presenter, if you want to talk and be in front of people and you want to send a great message, there's a couple different ways that we put our hands that will relate to our message. So the first thing, if I talk to you like this, what's going to happen is you may notice that the energy is kind of changed, just the way that I'm talking. Seems a little bit less exciting. It's more calm. It's a little bit slower, and that's what happens when you kind of lower your hands. It changes the way that you talk. It's actually lowering the amount of oxygen that's coming into your body. So right now my lungs are getting less oxygen, meaning that I'm talking slower and thinking slower, rather than picking my hands up just a little bit. This will increase the speed that I talk at and how fast I'm talking, because my diaphragm is starting to become aligned. I'm starting to get more oxygenated. Now, the last thing, if you really want to get animated, you really want your audience to be amped up and energetic, you bring your hands up here. And you put your hands right here, right next to your chest. And what this does is this brings the most oxygen into your body, and it increases the speed at which you talk and how fast you talk, and you seem energetic, and you can seem a lot happier. And this is a message that's sending like friendship, like, yeah, you're ready to listen, you want to know all about this person, and it's like, I'm all about you. So we want to keep our hands here. We want to be as dynamic as possible when we talk and keep our hands up. So the next thing we want to do is, if you ever don't know what to do with your hands, you can always kind of keep moving around or just keep them flat like this. This is one trick that I found works for me, is I'll put my hands here and just maybe talk like this. The next thing that we want to learn about is what happens when our reptilian brain goes off. So there's a couple parts to connect. You have the reptilian brain, and with that, another part of our brain is called the amygdala. Spelled A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A, A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A, the amygdala, also known as amygdala. So the amygdala is the part that fires, and when the amygdala fires, it happens fast. FAST is an acronym standing for fear, anxiety, stress, and threat. Whenever one of these four things goes off, fear, anxiety, stress, or threat, our amygdala fires, and it shuts down our prefrontal cortex, which is right here. This is where all the deep learning happens in our mind. So when our students are trying to learn something, they're using this part of our brain. The amygdala sits back here and is much like the reptilian brain. As soon as our reptilian brain feels threatened, it fires the amygdala, and it happens fast. When it happens fast, it shuts down everything in our brain. No new learning can happen once the amygdala fires. So the professional talked about what happens to your manager, and maybe you have a coworker, and you come up from behind them, and you're about to ask them a question. So a couple things happen. First of all, the body language you're sending is threatening. They're sensing a threat because you're approaching from behind them. The reptilian brain fires. They don't know if you're a threat or if you are a friend. What happens is they may see a shadow. Usually when we walk past us, the first things that our eyes see is color and then shades. If they see shadows, the reptilian brain fires. This ancient part of our brain fires because what happens is our brain thinks threat. It thinks there's a predator behind me because it's evolved from being a reptile. It evolved from thinking, I'm a reptile, I'm on a rock, I see a shadow, it must be a hawk. I must be getting close to getting eaten, and it freaks out and it fires and it goes into fight or flight. That's a lot of what body language is taking the brain out of fight or flight mode into friend mode. So we want to be as engaging and as friendly as possible to make sure that the brain knows that we don't have to put it in fight or flight. That our audience is not afraid of us. We're not a threat, and our audience wants to listen to us. And that's the easiest way to get someone to buy what you're trying to sell, easiest way to get people to listen to, easiest way to get people to want to be around you. You just stop fight or flight, and the way you do it is just try to lift those eyebrows. Smile as much as possible. Keep your hands out. Stay up straight. Make sure you stand in people's periphery. When you shake their hand, connect palm to palm. As I keep going through this, I'm going to learn a lot more. I'm going to try to post as much as I can. I'll probably have to start writing this because there's just so much that I want to make sure I get all the tips in. But this is the next little amount of research that I found for this week. So I hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to next week. All right, see you later.